Hey, what is up guys, I'm Exteria, and in this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most powerful reroll comps in the current meta, which is Naafiri Reroll. Minor disclaimer before you play this comp, this is a conditional comp, meaning you have to know the spots when to play this comp. You can't just force it whenever you want to. And those spots to play the comp is the basics, which is you need swords or glove opener, so you can have core items for Naafiri, but the main thing you need to focus on is your exotech items for Naafiri because this allows her to one-shot literally everything. The main one is Post Stabilizer, it's one of her best items. It's basically like an IE, but it executes like a collector without the gold drop. So this item is actually very powerful for Naafiri. If you don't have that item, Hyper Fangs is also okay. You can use it as a lifesteal item over using Bloodthirster or Hodge, that's also great. Or if you can't get any of these exotech items, but you have artifacts such as Prowler's Claw, or even the best one on her, which is Spectral Cutlass, this is really good as well. Or you can play range artifacts like Sniper's Focus, or even Fish and Bones is also fine. But if you do use range items, you have to build it over Edge of Night, because Edge of Night is more of a close range item instead of a range item. And in order to win the game, you need 5 AMP, because they got super buff in patch 14.3. And they also buffed it this patch again with 4 AMP and 14.4. The items you want to build on Naafiri is her core, which is Edge of Night, unless you can upgrade it with better items, like for example Spectral Cutlass or even Prowler's Claw. They're both really good. Or like I said earlier, a ranged item like Sniper's Focus or Fish and Bones is also fine. Second to that, you need a lifesteal item on her so she can last longer in fights. So it'd be either the exotech item Hyper Fangs, or you can build a Hodge instead, which is actually really good because it amplifies her crit items. But it's okay if you cannot build Hodge, you can also build Bloodthirster, which I actually kind of prefer just because the extra shield from Bloodthirster helps a lot for her to last a lot longer. And then your damage items, which you can't really flex between, you kind of have to build either a Post Stabilizer from an exotech item or an IE. If you don't have these items, she will not do enough damage. Your secondary carry is going to be Yuumi, and her core item is to have a blue buff so she can keep casting infinitely, and then afterwards it doesn't really matter what items you build on her. Like any AP items is fine, like Jewel Gauntlet or Gunblade or even Death Cap. The only thing you have to focus on her is just blue buff and then whatever you can build. And good artifacts on her would be like Mana Zane or Lich Bane is okay as well. If you have leftover 80 items, you can throw it on Samira, that's fine. And then for your main tank, most likely it's going to be Sejuani, so you just put whatever items you want on her. Or unless you get a Nico too, then you can put items on Nico, that's fine as well. And then other emblems that work really well with this board would be to have a strategist emblem, because Yuumi is also a strategist, so this helps a lot to amplify your board. The main opener that you can be playing on this board would be Naafiri with her core item Edge of Night, or whatever items that I showed earlier with the artifacts and stuff. Because she's an AMP unit, having a Nidalee will amplify her power. If you have a really good exotech item, having exotech units such as Jax and Jin would help a lot if you have like Post Stabilizer or Hyper Fangs. If not, I can show you guys different openers if you don't have those items. You're going to be playing at level 6 for a while because you're going to be rerolling for Naafiri 3, and the best board to play around that would be to have Yuumi with Echo, since you get both strategists on the board and you also get one more extra AMP, so you can get extra damage on Naafiri. And then when you hit level 8, you just add the other 2 units of AMP, which is Annie and Samira, and you also trade out your Jin whenever you can if you find a Sejuani, because you also get Bastion, so it makes your board a little bit tankier. And then when you hit level 9, you can just throw out Nico, since most of the time a lot of people would be contesting Nico. That means you're not going to find Nico 2 anytime soon. If you do, good on you. Also, the thing to note with adding a Nico on the board, you're going to have to change your positioning on the board a little bit, because you get Street Demon on the board and you want to put Naafiri on the highlighted Hex so she can do extra damage. Good +1 units to have on the board is like if you have any Fawns, or you could just throw out +1 for whatever reason. Garen is very good to have modifiers, to have like strategist modifier you could throw on Naafiri so she can do extra damage, or you can throw in a Viego since he's a really good unit overall, he's like a +2, or you can throw in like a Zac. Zac's always good for a +1 unit, or you can throw in an extra strategist unit like Ziggs so you can have 4 strategists on the board. The tip I can say here is if you have a strategist emblem, you can just throw on Samira like as an 80 item, it'll be really good on her. If you don't have Samira at the time when you do have strategist emblem, you can just find someone else to hold it until you find Samira. Another thing to note here is Nidalee 3 is not too important to look for, so you don't really have the 3-star if you don't want to. But if you do, that's great. Now for the team builder segment, so you have a better visual on how to play this board. The other openers I can show is if you cannot have a Naafiri drop at the beginning, you can also do a Nidalee level 2 start, which is actually great because she's actually super powerful in the early game, and she also can hold Naafiri items pretty well. And we're going to represent Naafiri items as Edge of Night. The other units you can play around Nidalee can be a Nitro opener, so you can have like a Kindred and a Shyvana, so you can have that +1 unit from Nitro on the board. And then when you level up to 4, then you just throw out Jax, so you can have Bastion, or any other Bastion unit is fine, like Poppy is also great. If you do somehow high roll a Naafiri, that's also fine to throw out as well. But if Nidalee's level 2 at the time, it'll be better just to play Nidalee as a carry until level 6 when you can roll for Naafiri 2. This is fine. And then when you hit level 5, you can throw out either a bashing unit from here like Poppy or Jax, or if you get lucky enough, maybe you might find a Jhin. This also works well with extra backline damage, so you can have marksman with Kindred and Jhin. And then when you hit level 6, then you play your actual board. Hopefully by then you find a Jax when you roll down. Then you transfer your islands from Nidalee to Naafiri, and you can play this board until you 3-star everything. The good thing about this board too is you also get your Exotech activated, so if you have a really good Exotech item for Naafiri, this works as well. You can do this style of opener instead of having like the Echo and Yuumi in if you want to, but preferably if you have a Yuumi too, I would trade out the Kindred for the Yuumi and then trade out the Shyvana for the Echo. I feel like this would be better in the long run. And then hopefully you can high roll if you get lucky enough. If you find Sejuani, you get trade out Jhin for Sejuani. This also works as well. And then you play the base board. The reason why the strategist is kind of more important than having the Bastion in is because you get durability. And if you have 3 items in Naafiri by then, the durability on the Naafiri helps way more than just having armor and magic resist on the board, since you'll be taking a lot less damage, since durability is you take less damage overall. And basic positioning for at least the level 6 board, if you're still level 6 for a reason on stage 4, you want to position in a way where the Naafiri doesn't die too easy, and you want to put the higher level tanks on the edge so it can make the people in the center last a little bit longer. And Sejuani, you kind of have to play her from the side. If you play her in the middle, her ability is kind of useless, so you have to play 50-50 with the enemies, putting her on the side so you can stun the main carries on the corners. If she's level 2, then you can play her as like the main tank on the side. This would be better positioning here for her, or this side, depending where the enemy is at. But basically, this is a good positioning, or the vice versa of this way is also good as well. If your Naafiri is level 3, then you want to position her in the front on the edge if she has Edge of Night. The reason why is because if the main carry is targeting Naafiri, and as soon as the item pops, they will target the main tank afterwards. And in most cases, after the Edge of Night pops, most likely you might kill the enemy unit that's over here. Then she might have a chance to run straight into the enemy carry's backline, and you might win the round off of that. Another thing to note here too, as you're rerolling here, you can just play Echo 3 as a main tank. If you want to reroll Echo, that's also fine as well. Other openers I can show is the Graves opener, because Graves also holds Naafiri items pretty well. But to play this is more of like a bruiser opener with Alistair and Mundo, and then you just have a +1 backline unit. It could be whatever, like Kindred, or if you high roll a Jhin, that'll be great because he armor breaks for Graves to do extra damage. And then you want to put items on Graves and just play your strongest board until you can hit level 6 so you can pivot into the Naafiri board. So as you're rolling down level 6, you get Naafiri, just take out Graves for Naafiri, and then take out the main tank. At the time it might be Alistair for Jax, and then just take out Mundo for Echo, throw in a Yuumi, and then a Nidalee. And that's basically about it, which is pretty easy pivot to do. Another opener you can do, which is kind of weak to do, but if you really want to do it to play for Naafiri, you can do the same bruiser opener as well, which is Mundo and Alistair. But in this case, Mundo, you want to focus as him as the main tank. Unless you get Alistair too, then it's whoever's level 2 is going to be your main tank. But the reason why Mundo is better is because you would get a Shaco for this board, and you put Naafiri items on Shaco. And then like I said earlier, with the Graves opener, just whatever backline unit you can find, like Jhin, because he breaks armor for Shaco. And then same thing, just play your strongest board, hit level 6, then pivot out into the Naafiri board, which is pretty simple to do. Just have out the same units like I said earlier, which is the Naafiri, Nidalee, Echo, Jax, and Yuumi. And then just sell the Shaco to put on Naafiri, the items. And that's basically about it. Now for the base opener, which is Naafiri, you can do a Nitro opener if you want to with Kindred, Nidalee, and Shyvana. This also works as well. Or you can do the Exotech opener with Jhin over Kindred, Jax over Shyvana, and you can do this as an opener as well. Either or, you can play up into a Nitro over time. So you can flex between either doing Exotech or Nitro. Most of the time, if I have a good item for Naafiri to start with, I like doing Exotech opener, or maybe sometimes I have no choice but to do Nitro opener. At level 5, I still play like Shyvana no matter what anyways, just because when I hit level 6, then I can throw in Kindred and then slow roll into my Naafiri board later. And then over time, as we are trying to reroll for Naafiri 3, just switch out the units like Shyvana for Echo and then Yuumi for Kindred. And that's basically about it, which is pretty simple to do. By the time we hit level 7, hopefully by then you can look for an Annie. But if you can't do that at level 7, then you can just throw out a Bastion unit like a Poppy or a Shyvana, which is fine. But most likely, because you're rerolling at 6 anyways, you probably pivot an Annie. So this is the case that's going to happen most of the time. And then when you hit level 8, you want to spend most of your gold to try to look for Sejuani if you can't find her at the moment. But if you do, just trade it out for Jhin. That's actually great. And then if you high roll a Samira, that's actually really good. because by then you have 5 amp. If you can't find Samira, you can look for a unit like Nico, so you can have extra strategists on the board. And same thing, if for whatever reason you can't find a Nico, you can always throw another LeBlanc if you have to. But you're gonna have to keep rolling at 8 until you can find a Samira, because if you don't, you're not gonna be strong enough to hit fast 9. So just keep rolling until you find a Samira. Then when you do hit fast 9, throw out a Nico. That's good. And then basic positioning for this style of the board is if your Naafiri should be level 3 by then, you just want to put it on the edge, and then whoever is your main tank, say for example, maybe you roll for Echo 3 as well, and he'll be your main tank. And if you're wondering what kind of main tank items you should look for, it could be an Even Shroud with a Sunfire. These two are really great. What can make Naafiri tankier is if you have Redemption. So these items are actually really good to look for looking for tank items. They're more like pseudo tank items than actual real tank items because you're gonna spend most of your items on Naafiri and Yuumi. And when you're rolling at level 6, hopefully you can 3-star Yuumi. If not, you can finish 3-starring a Yuumi at level 8. That's fine as well. But yeah, basic positioning would be to have Sejuani like towards near the edge. If she's not level 2 yet, then you're gonna have to protect her with units like these, like clumped up together, so she can last long enough for her to cast her ability at least once. And then the backline doesn't really matter, you can do whatever. Most of the time you kind of want Sejuani to be the main tank because you can position it like this and you put the items on her. And then at this point, this will be a lot better because she can cast and hit the main enemy carries with Naafiri. So you can position it like this way, or you can position it like this way. Just remember to always put Yuumi near the Naafiri side so they can both one-shot the main units in front of them. And then for the case of if you have Spectral Cutlass, that positioning would be to be on the 3rd row. So say if the enemy carry is on this side, then you want to put Naafiri over here and it will attack the unit on that side. If the main carry unit is on the opposite side, like over here on the right side, then you want to position Naafiri over here. So that's pretty simple. It's just go opposite of the enemy, but on the 3rd row. Because if you put Naafiri right here, it kind of gets weird sometimes where she might end up being somewhere else that you don't want her to be. So just put her in a 3rd row, like on the edge or wherever like the enemy carry is at. Like say for example, if the enemy carry is where this Annie's at, just position Naafiri right here and she'll just attack the main carry on this side. The thing to note with Spectral Cutlass is yes, the unit will attack Naafiri when she TPs at him. That's the reason why I prefer Bloodthirster with Spectral Cutlass. So that if for whatever reason they hit her hard enough, at least the Bloodthirster would save her a little bit longer. Or if you like to be Glass Cannon with the Haj and IE, just hope to one-shot them before they one-shot you. And in the case of if you have a ranged item, say for example you have the item Sniper Focus, then you can just position her on the 3rd row and with Yuumi. So that's basically about it for that concept. And then if you have Street Demon active, just throw everything I said out the window and just position Naafiri on the highlighted hex. So if you have Edge and Knight, just put her in front of the highlighted hex positioning. If she has ranged item like Sniper's Focus, then put her in the backline on the highlighted hex. Either one's fine. But if you have Spectral Cutlass, you can just ignore that positioning and just go against the enemy so you can one-shot them. But it's up to you to determine if the Street Demon bonus for Naafiri is worth it in the long run or not to position her in the highlighted hex. Onto the augments, the ones you want to auto-click, meaning if you see it, you should take it. If you're for sure 100% gonna guarantee to play Naafiri, you should look for an artifact item, so Potable Forge is a good augment for that. Or item augments like Not Today is very good for Edge and Knight because it gives you a huge buff with that item and you get a free Edge and Knight. If you already have Edge and Knight on the board, you can have an extra one and throw it on Nidalee, or you can throw it on Samira later. That's fine as well. Overclocked is a very good amp augment because the more items you have on the unit, the more damage you would get. Compared to Transference, it's a worse version of Overclocked because Transference is if the amp unit is dead, they'll transfer the +1 amp stack to a different unit, which isn't too useful in my opinion in the long run, but it does help with extra damage. So if you see Transference, it's okay augment as well. But Overclock is the one that you want to click on no matter what. Healing Orbs is a very good augment for Naafiri because she's able to heal off whatever she kills, and if you want to 3-star Naafiri easier, Starry Night is very good for that. Also, Shop Glitch is also a very good augment for rerolling. Same with Trade Sector. If you want to finish off 3-starring Naafiri easier, or Yuumi, Hero Grabback is very good for that. And then the best callback augments to put on Naafiri would be like Overheal or Cybernetic Bulk, because you get extra health stats with this augment, or extra like defense stats like Noble Sacrifice, or you can get health regen like Spirit Link, and then Transference is also pretty good like I said earlier. The augment priority you want to do most of the time is item, like for example Portal Forge or Not Today, and then Econ or some sort of reroll augment like Shop Glitch, Trade Sector, or even Starry Night, and then a combat augment so you can amplify your damage on Naafiri, like Overheal or something like Cybernetic Bulk is fine as well. The playstyle you want to do most of the time is high tempoing the fast 6, meaning you want a win streak, because playing Naafiri from a loose streak angle, you'll probably die pretty quick, because if you don't hit Naafiri 3 when you're like low HP, you're just going to be dead overall. So you have to play from a spot where you know you can win rounds. To do that is on stage 2-1, you want to level to 4, play your strongest board possible. And in stage 2, 3, always make intervals of 10 gold, like 10, 20, 30 gold. If you have more than around like 14 gold, 24 gold, 34 gold, you can pre-level to 5, which looks something like this. The reason why you want to do this, because when you come back from carousel round, you might get pretty good units in your level shop odds. You don't have to do this part, you can just skip it because at stage 2, 4, you hit level 5 anyways, so you can do one or the other, either one's fine. On stage 2, 6, again, make intervals like 20, 30, 40 gold, or you can do this on stage 2, 5, either one's fine. And then stage 3, 2, hit level 6 and then roll for your board, and then when you 3-star Naafiri, just hit level 8 or 9 whenever you want to. And that is it for everything you need to know for the strongest 2-cost reroll comp, which is Naafiri Reroll. If you have any questions about this comp, just let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer to the best of my capabilities. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.